Magandang hapon sa lahat. This is your Department of Information and Communications Technology, the government's lead agency for advancing the ICT development agenda. And we are from DICT Mindanao Cluster 1, which covers Zamboanga Peninsula, Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. Your DICT MC1 is recognized globally as World Champion at World Summit and Information Society Prizes 2020 under e-employment category for generating an accumulated income of 1.5 million every month for freelancers who use our ICT hub. All right, welcome to the last day of our 5-day live webinar on digital transformative technologies. My name is May, and I am again your host this afternoon. To formally start, let us all bow down our heads for our opening prayer. By the way, for those who just joined, this webinar series is designed for people who are tasked to plan, design, build, operate, and improve service delivery and support with the use of digital transformative technologies. And for this last session, our speaker will be discussing on digital governance technology.
The King is exalted and high. I will praise Him. He is exalted, forever exalted, and I will praise His name. He is the Lord, forever His truth shall reign. Heaven and earth rejoice in His holy name. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high.
Good afternoon once again. So hello po sa 420 attendees natin on Zoom. Good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. So we are also live on Facebook at our DICT Mindanao Cluster 1 Facebook page. Hello po sa lahat ng ating Facebook Live viewers. Don't forget to share this live stream so others can join us. Yung iba excited na sa raffle natin, no? All right, so we are now down to our last session for this webinar series with Sir John Macasio. Thank you so much for your avid participation, especially those who were able to attend since day one. So before we proceed, here are our reminders. Always keep your mic on mute. Interact with us through the chat box or when there are online tools. Have a bottle or glass of water with you. Hydrate every now and then. You may also grab a cup of coffee to boost your concentration while listening to our speaker. activities for today. First, we have the Mentimeter. Second, the question and answer portion. As we go along, we encourage everyone to raise your questions. You may raise your questions through the Q&A box for our Zoom participants. And for our Facebook Live viewers, please use the comment section. And last activity for the day would be our raffle draw. So this webinar is a 5-day webinar that started last April 12th and will end today, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And that would be 3 hours per session. The evaluation link will be given today for our Zoom participants. You must have to accomplish that single evaluation for you to be eligible for a certificate. And that will be open until 5 p.m. That would be open at 5 p.m. until 12 midnight. So for our Facebook Live viewers, another evaluation link will be pinned on the comment section. A certificate of participation will be given to the participants who have attended 80% of the training sessions and accomplished all the training activities / output. And reminder po ulit, please make sure to provide an active email address and correct spelling ng email address nyo po so that mas-send po talaga sa inyo yung certificate nyo. All right, let's do the Mentimeter. So I'm expecting a different question, but I think this would be our question for today. How do you feel about today's session? So kindly go to www.menti.com and share with us your thoughts. Oh, let me correct that. So ito po pala yung question po natin for today. What is the most important lesson you have learned from the previous sessions? Kita niyo po ba yung code? Ayan. I encourage po everyone, especially yung Zoom, na mag-participate po. Uy, meron na tayong isang answer. So you need to experience technology to be digitally transformed. May nag-answer din ng cloud technology. Digitally skilled. Digital transformation is essential in our current situation. I learned the importance of technology in this pandemic. Cloud computing, importance of digital development plan, and importance of digital transformative technologies. Be ready to be digitally transformed. Ayan, thank you so much for your responses. Cloud computing and IoT. Right. So for now, I think ready na ba kayong lahat? Pwede ba nating salubungin si Sir John ng big yes? Are you ready for today's session? Ayan. So I will now turn over the microphone to our speaker, none other than Mr. John Macasio. Sir John, take it away.
Kamusta ang aking dating? Pogi pa din?
Pogi, sir.
Malinaw ba aking kaluluwa? Alright. Meron ako sa iyong sinend na link. So, pag nagsabi ko sa iyo mamaya, i-present mo yan. Okay? So, let me start. So, just to give a summary of our day 1 up to day 4 and to be concluded by day 5. So, itong webinar na ito, ano ito direct, rule, and standard-based competency on how the practice of digital transformation with digital transformation technologies is to be done. So, ang Pilipinas, mahaba-haba na eh. Year 2000 na tayo nagsimula eh. Ngayon, 2022 na. And still, ang leadership doon pa rin sa kwento. Palagi pa rin policy, magagandang mga plano. And then, ang technology, sabi ko nga sa inyo, hindi naman problema technology. Ang technology ay nandiyan. Nandiyan ang technology. And actually, hindi mo rin kailangan sabihin, may nakagawa na ba niyan? Marami na po. At ang katotohanan, maraming mga lugar na kung saan nagawa yan, ang mga technologies nila, puro mga Pilipino. Tingnan nyo lang ang Google eh. Punong-puno na mga PhilAm yan. Yung mga innovators nila, karamihan halos mga PhilAm. Pero sa mundo, ang pinakamalaking mga startup at innovators nanggaling sa Eastern Europe. Yung mga countries na matapos silang humiwalay sa Russia, they started now to build their country. Pero ang naging path nila para mag-develop yung country nila, digital. Kaya yung mga alam ninyo mga apps na dina-download nyo, pag tiningnan nyo yan, halos lahat yan, puro may mga Russian sounding. And then syempre, yung Asian countries naman, na later, nakita nila yung ganda ng mga technologies na yon, inadapt din nila. So yan ang mga countries na kung tawagin ninyo ay Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, ngayon Indonesia, Malaysia. Nauna na ho sila sa atin, samantalang tayo, thesis na natin yan nung araw pa. Totoo yan, thesis na natin. Tayong unang-unang may e-commerce law, tayong pinakahuli na nagpatupad. Ngayon pa lang tayo pumapasok sa digital economy. Ngayon pa lang pumapasok na unawaan ng gobyerno ang paggamit ng credit card, debit card, paggamit ng PayPal, GCash. Talang matagal na po yan. So yan po yung senaryo. At sabi ko nga sa inyo, ang surgeon nyo, matagal ko na po yung sinusubaybayan. National Computer Center pa yan, naging CICT. So I got involved directly or indirectly sa mga project. Ang pagkakaiba ko po ay analyze. No? And then sometimes I am very asked sa may mga meeting ho na hindi naman tayo kapangyarihan, hindi naman tayo sekretary. Pero tandaan nyo, sa buhay na ito, may aspekto po kasi ng knowledge. Tsaka openness. So karamihan, pag ang meeting ang nagre-represent ay nagtitinda ng produkto, iba yan. Pero kung ang proseso ay very independent, tinitingnan mo ang value to be realized. Hindi yung pag-project meeting may bias ka na kung paano mo gagawin ng LMS, paano, wala yan. Kinakailangan itidihin mo muna, sabi ko sa inyo, what is the value that you want to create? As I've been repeating, DepEd will not improve its digital transformative process if it does not make a very clear definition of its service framework. And the kind of efficiency and effectiveness it wants to create relative to the basic education law. And three, unless it embraced the new paradigm, the differentiated paradigm of working with digital transformative. The same with DOH. They have been doing a lot of knowledge management system for a long time. And they would even hire the best in enterprise architecture to help them design the requirement. And they would even engage the best of the hospital information system provider. But COVID proves you that they cannot handle the new efficiency requirement and effectiveness just to report exactly what is the COVID situation. And for PhilHealth to exactly tell us how many are hospitalized and given the benefit. And imagine they have been computerizing since 2006. Today is 2020. Look at BIR. Look at LTO. Since year 2000, they have been computerizing. But still, they are now at this time because of COVID, everybody is forced to automate because of the no contact policy. Actually, COVID forced everyone to implement RA 11032. Nakakatuwa po, no? Dahil doon sa COVID, biglang-bigla ang lahat ng ahensya ng gobyerno, bigla nilang in-implement yung requirement na yun ng RA 11032. Alam nyo kung ano yun? Automation at no contact policy. So now you do electronic processing in order for you to connect to your employee and to connect to your customer and to deliver certification, mga ganon. Alright? So, yun po yung impetus. So today, yan po yung pinaka-intent nito. In order for us, walang bulahan, walang storya. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, at the end of the day, kahit sabihin pa na kayo ay good, better, or best, at sang katutak ang mga award na nakuha ninyo related sa computerization, ang bottom line pa din, what is the new efficiency? Nagkaroon ba ng pababago ang efficiency? Number two, nagkaroon ba ng realized na customer experience, citizen experience, sang-ayon sa batas? Hindi nyo kailangan, you don't need to invent. The law has made you and obligated the head of agency to have a quality management system in the delivery of your services. It is a law. And it is part also of the law that you have to do business process re-engineering to make sure that the business service delivery of a government agency for simple process, it will happen only in 3 days. For complicated to happen only in 7 days. For technical, for 20 days. And if it is involves inter-agency, it happens 40 days. That is the law. And if the head of agency does not comply with that, he is violating his oath of office. He is violating his oath of office. Sometimes we take seriously of the law because of the penalty. But boss, we don't value the law because there is a penalty. Because it is the right thing to do. And it is the only way to determine whether you are doing the right thing right. Yan po yun. So in the story of e-government, digital governance, make your speech not good. Do not make your speech best or better. Make your speech and activity right. That is the point. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Why, Sir John? Because the practice is already available. There are already existing models and there are existing technologies in order for government service delivery to be in accordance with RA 11032, automation and no contact policy. And based on the e-government master plan that was produced by the agency mandated by law to make sure that digital governance and digital government happen in the Philippines. And the use of the public fund will be in accordance to a master plan. And that is DICT RA 10844 EGMP, E-Government Master Plan. Ganun lang po kasimple yun. And if the government agencies are not able to realize that requirement of the law and the implementing regulation associated to the realization of digital government in the Republic of the Philippines, then my friend, sad to say, your CESO, your director, your ASEC and USEC are not observing the requirement of the rules and regulations. Today, I'm going to show to you two things. Existing model. You don't need to reinvent. Why? Because the guys who are also planning in the Republic of the Philippines, when they are in position, they go to countries that invite them to see. And those guys spend money to go to Korea, Japan, Singapore, just to observe, and then come back in the Philippines. And then they became resource person. Or you know what? But then afterwards, after the end of the term, you have never experienced that very thing that they were part of their speech in big digital governance event. So John, why do you know? Once upon a time, I was part of those people. So today, the new scenario, the new situation that requires new efficiency. Take note, new efficiency. New efficiency. Valued customer experience through the use of digital transformative technology is not just a speech, not just a good speech, it's a look. But the next question is, does transformational leadership and management really know what they are talking? Or they are only talking to people who are selling product, or to consultants who are selling their own consultancy services and their training program? A collective framework must be known to the person implementing. And there are two documents in the Republic of the Philippines that must guide everyone. The first document is the e-government master plan of 2022. And number two is the anti-red tape law, the ease of doing business and government efficient delivery of service, RA 11032. Of course, there's another one. And for me, if an agency of government is not ISO 9001, your head of the agency is violating EO 605 2007. You only take seriously of that particular regulation because of performance-based bonus. But even without performance bonus, since it is a requirement to prove to the public that you have a quality management system, you assume all head of agency will make sure that their process is ISO 9001. Because it is stated there, you can only say a government agency is performing right when they can show that certification that they are quality. You know ba kasi, EO 605. And then number two, you will know that your organization is implementing the requirement of efficient government service. When you have done that requirement, apat po yun, boss. Apat po yun. The first one, as required by law, is for you to do your business process re-engineering. You have to re-engineer that system. DepEd, you have to re-engineer that to align that to a new framework of efficiency. Number two, do not complain about policy and law because it is required in RA 11032 that you have to make regulatory impact assessment. All your policies and regulations must be reviewed, revised, And if it is an RA, you have to make sure that the congressman and the senator recognize it. It is in the law. It is in the implementing rules and regulation of RA 11032. And part or component of that is in order for you to streamline. Problema ng mga tao, they're streamlining their services, pero manual. In the law, it says that another aspect of streamlining is automation. Automate. And your automation is evidenced by what? By a no-contact policy. When all of your business process are electronic. Hindi po yan opinion ni Sir John. I am a citizen of the Republic of the Philippines who happen to have studied and read those requirements. And if you are a responsible citizen and you know it, you should make sure that they do. That's why my friends sa COA, I've been telling them, do your work. You simply follow the law. Who can complain against you? Even the President of the Republic of the Philippines cannot override the procurement process, even if he is a president, by simply invoking, ako bahala niyan. Hindi niya pwedeng gawin yun sapagkat ang kanyang immunity during lang sa term niya. After that, pwede pa rin siyang kasuhan. Pero boss, hindi na ho yan pangarap. Pag ang inyong agency of head, talugpati pa rin yan, sabihin niyo sa kanya, Sir, you are violating the rules and regulation related to automation, no contact policy, and quality management system. Ganun lang mo kasimple yan. Lalo na kung may seso 1, seso 2 pa yan sa rango niya. Dapat in-expect mo na dapat yan ay alam niya. Kasi nanumpa ko sila dyan eh. So that is the very purpose of this training. So this training is not a basta-basta lang po. This is really an advocacy of the right thing to do. So today, I will summarize everything by showing to you a model. Alam nyo, nung araw, maraming mga personnel dyan sa ating NCC, sa ating CICT, na ngayon ICTO, DICT. Karamihan yan, may travel abroad yan para makita nila yung mga things na may mga bagay-bagay on how to make good governance. There was a time na ang mga tropa dyan, they are brought to Singapore. Singapore was also a country na they are also selling. They are also marketing. Yan. Their e-government or their digital governance solution. Siyempre, sa likod niyan, may mga product developer at distributor. Ganyan lang naman ang mundo. So, to promote that, yung mga countries na katulad ng Pilipinas, na merong mga regulation tungkol sa, tungkol sa mga bagay-bagay na related sa digital governance, digital government, one digital Philippines, they would normally be exposed. Kasi sino ba naman dito may karanasan yan? So you go to the country that has already an experience in order for you to see whether you can do it in your country. So that is what you call, in practice, modeling. So you look at certain model. And then you look at whether that is already feasible. Ang ganda ng word, no? Feasible. The answer is feasible. So actually, meron 3 bansa na magaling magbenta ng concept na yan ng digital governance. At merong isang pinag-uutangan ng pera ang magaling magbigay ng concept paper na yan kung gusto mong gumawa ng proposal. Siyempre, ang tawag sa kanya, World Bank at Asian Development Bank. Kaya pag pumunta ka sa website ng World Bank at Asian Development Bank, maghanap ka doon ng lahat ng mga project proposal on digital governance, marami kang makikita. And then you will even see framework on how it's being done. Pangalawa, yung mga countries na, syempre, the moment they present it to you, may bibiling kayo produkto. So ang number 1 dyan, Singapore. Ang number 2, Korea. Kaya dito, marami ritong KOICA. Then Japan. So marami ditong JICA. So kung tutusin mo, hindi nahuhuli ang mga magagaling na Pilipino. Marami tayong mga tao sa gobyerno at manager sa gobyerno na naiintindihan nila yung sinasabing digital governance. From their exposure and experience to the reality of countries that has already actual realization and available product. That if they can only plan properly the digital governance strategy and project ng bansa nila, ay maaaring maging maayos din sila. Meron ng new efficiency, may bagong customer valued experience, at may iba ang business model. And therefore, mag-improve. Hindi ko nahuli Pilipinas. Hindi nahuhuli ang mga tao natin na hindi nila alam yan. Lalo na kung central office. Pag tinignan mo mga PDS niya, bakbak sarado yan sa mga travel abroad related sa mga model of experience. So may isa sa paboritong marketing ng related sa digital governance o e-government ay ang Singapore. E-government. Ibinebenta po yan. At marami tayong expert sa Pilipinas ang umaattend ng training sa lugar na yan. Okay, May? Fire!
Play po natin yung video, sir.
Oo, binigay ko link.
Yes, sir. Ito na po, sir.
Our world is on the brink of a revolution. Humanity is embracing technological innovation like never before. And it's evolving how we live as a species. People and cultures must adapt in the face of unrelenting progress. How do communities flourish as their cities steadily fill to the brim? How do we brave the increasingly uncertain global landscape? A tropical island nearly 14,000 times smaller than America may have the answers.
Singapore moves at a very fast pace. It has to innovate in order to survive.
We are daring to step out of our comfort zone and venturing into something rather new and unknown.
Reinventing itself from a gritty port town to a gateway into the future.
Human talent is what we have, and we need to augment our talent with technologies.
This ambitious city could be a test bed for the world of tomorrow.
We always have to constantly adapt, see how others are changing around us.
This is the city of innovation, Singapore. The world's urban landscape is spreading further with each passing moment. By 2050, over 2/3 of the world's population are expected to live in cities. So, how will a modern metropolis like Singapore accommodate demand without sacrificing livability? George Lowe and his team at the National Research Foundation are wrestling with this age-old problem.
I am an engineer by training, so I like to make things happen or solve problems. Planning or developing a city is different from a product, say, an aircraft. Now, aircraft, when you build it, it stays static. But a city is growing. What you're planning may not be sufficient or may not be adequate enough. So we need a more sophisticated tool to address the issue.
The NRF has partnered with GovTech and the Singapore Land Authority to build a tool straight out of science fiction, a duplicate of the entire city inside the digital world. This simulation swaps bricks for bytes to allow engineers to try out their wildest ideas.
There are a lot of things you can do in the physical world. But when you do something and it fails, it doesn't work, it's time consuming, it's costly, and it may have some consequence that you may not want. Now, a digital twin, if it's accurately modeled and developed, will be able to allow you to do virtual experimentation.
But digitizing a 700 square kilometer island is no simple matter. The first step in creating this digital twin is to scan every inch of landmass. Engineers used sophisticated 3D scanning equipment called LiDAR to digitally replicate everything from buildings to street signs. Physical information is merged with a plethora of data from every level of the city to create a living, breathing clone. The perfect place to trial plans for the future with zero consequences.
Singapore is perhaps the only one who started the digital twin at the city level and country level at such scale.
Engineers are already starting to test out virtual Singapore's potential on real-world problems. New cycling paths can ease traffic woes and encourage healthy living, but their construction can throw up unexpected problems for urban planners.
The challenge is how we can reuse spaces that are already there, not chopping down a single tree, for example. We don't want to bulldoze sloping roads and make them flat, otherwise it will be a very costly exercise.
So, how can virtual Singapore meet the needs of its citizens in this land-scarce nation?
This is a new cycling network that we are planning to have. Singapore is mostly flat, but there are areas that are a bit more challenging than the others. We can get down to that level and now see for ourselves the parts that will be a bit more challenging and the parts that are easier going. We can even preview, but if you cycle, then this lamppost might not be a good place to be, or you might want to shift your cycling path elsewhere. Or we can virtually walk through every design consideration that we are planning to implement on the ground without spending money and making costly mistakes. So this is part of what Virtual Singapore aims to achieve. The power is how much data you can put in and how much you can analyze.
But such an immense amount of power has to be regulated, with top-level access given only to national security teams, filtering down to emergency services, town planners, and one day, the general public. As the city grows, new projects can be safely tested on Singapore's digital twin.
There is no actual end to Virtual Singapore. You will continue to use the platform and continue to evolve as the city evolves. And when you use Virtual Singapore, you're only limited by your own imagination.
It's this imagination that has helped innovators overcome challenges of our increasingly unpredictable world.
This is very, very important for MIT. Bill and I said, well, why don't we build a course in entrepreneurship and see what happens? We launched the course and suddenly something amazing happened. You guys happened.
My name is 21 years old.
It's just an amazing gathering of incredible people.
The MOOCs were so useful to me that I actually decided to apply to the bootcamp to learn more about it.
May skip ang ad. Pa-skip ang ad.
Opportunity.
Po, sir.
They ideate. They
I will tell my team, sir.
Financially, and then they pitch.
If you want to find a practical, systematic, and rigorous framework.
Well, however, great minds can only do so much against our changing climate. It wasn't that long ago that Orchard Road, Singapore's premier shopping district, was overwhelmed by crippling flash floods.
The rainfall in Singapore is frequent and intense, and the weather can be erratic. Sometimes it can be hot at one moment and heavy rain at the next moment. When the flooding happened, the water level got up to knee deep. You can see buses being stranded, and the people in the vehicle had to be rescued by the civil defense.
Officials had to find an answer quickly, and after years of careful planning, they found a solution. While they couldn't stop the weather, they could outsmart it using a feat of daring engineering.
I oversaw the construction of the Stanford Diversion Canal to divert and store excess stormwater in the event of the heavy downpour. Usually for alleviating floods, we will have to deepen or widen the drain, but in cases where there is competing land users, such as buildings and roads and infrastructure, we have to think of other ways. What we did is we divert and put the canal underground to optimize land space.
This ambitious project, implemented by Singapore's National Water Agency, PUB, enhances flood protection in the area with the construction of a new canal that diverts storm waters into the Singapore River.
This kind of circumstances is unique for drainage because large diameter tunneling are usually deeper underground.
Tunnel boring is used across the globe, but in most cases, engineers work deep underground where there's more room to maneuver. But for PUB, the district's geography forced their machines to inch their way through the crowded shallow layers, guided only by GPS and good old-fashioned ground surveys.
Outside of this, 1.2 meter is where the MRT stations are. Below us, about 5 meter is where the MRT tunnels are. And we are also sandwiched above by a lot of services, underground services and cables.
A tightly woven mesh of underground passageways transports everything from people to power, leaving little room for the team's new tunnel. Even the slightest miscalculation could have resulted in disaster.
At this point of time, the team could not really sleep because we always have one eye on our phone to receive updates. This keeps us awake at night.
The now completed diversion canal offers residents and shoppers better flood protection for many years to come. While citizens may be safe from tropical downpours, it's possible that a simple puddle could harbor an even bigger problem. These provide inadvertent breeding grounds for the deadliest animal on Earth.
I have a love-hate relationship with mosquitoes. In terms of science, they're so fascinating. The look of it is so elegant. However, you know that behind all this elegance is a mosquito that causes disease and causes a lot of harm.
Let's do the release. Let's go.
In Singapore, our dengue control system has been evolving through the years. With each decade, we have new challenges like more urbanization, more globalization, climate change, and so we need to adapt.
So Li Ching and her team breathed new life into an established idea. They recruited mosquitoes that carry a bacteria called Wolbachia, which causes the insects to unknowingly fight against their own kind.
So if a male mosquito carries Wolbachia, mates with a female mosquito that does not, the eggs derived from that mating will not hatch. So there will be no progenies, no offspring. You could eventually see a reduction of the female disease-causing mosquito in the field.
The dengue-fighting power of Wolbachia has been known for some time. But with countless mosquitoes out there to fight, the difficulty has always been one of numbers.
The challenge lies in the production facility where we need to produce large numbers of male Wolbachia Aedes to be released in the field. Sorting them to separate the male and the female are very labor-intensive.
And using automated tools, the team are able to easily count thousands of mosquito eggs and separate the larvae.
Larvae will pass through a very fine channel in there, and that's where it will be counted by a stream of laser. And before that, we were actually using manual counting. So this larvae count actually helps to speed up the process by about 15 times faster. So these 6 days old larvae, as well as pupae from both males and females. And because we are only interested in the male pupae, we'll be sorting them by size. This is actually a glass plate that has a gradient. So it's actually slightly wider at the top, narrow at the bottom. Females being larger on top, the males are smaller here, so the larvae will pass through.
So these are really pioneering technologies that are not available in the market and developed through this project Wolbachia Singapore.
But reducing the dengue-carrying mosquitoes of tomorrow means releasing large numbers of Wolbachia-infected mosquitoes today.
What this thing do is for us to carry and transport mosquito in an efficient way is at least 3 to 5 times more faster than the current release method. So by just press of button, the hatch will open. There's a gentle wind to blow the mosquito out.
But these Wolbachia mosquitoes aren't a silver bullet against Singapore's dengue outbreaks.
This technology works best with the assistance of the community who will continue to keep the mosquito population low in their homes.
NEA's revolutionary innovations, combined with Wolbachia outreach programs, have reduced the population of dengue-carrying mosquitoes by up to 90%.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use any fancy editing software. With Doodly,
Today, a ship comes in or out of Singapore every 2 to 3 minutes, with maritime trade contributing 7% of the country's GDP, over 30 billion Singapore dollars. But with more than 80% of all the world's trade carried by sea, every port on Earth wants a piece of the action. Now, Singapore's engineers have an audacious plan to make sure this tiny island can remain a fierce competitor in the maritime trade.
We have never rested on our laurels. Our past success will not assure us of future because of the competition.
Singapore is transforming itself on a massive scale. By the 2040s, the existing ports across the city will be combined into a single megaport in Tuas. Not only does this make operations more efficient, it frees up precious land in the city centre.
Our Tuas megaport will be the largest container port in a single location in the world. Tuas port's uniqueness lies not just in the physical port. We see it more in the smart port.
Automated vehicles guided by artificial intelligence will mean that ships can be loaded and unloaded much faster than conventional ports. More ships equal more business, fueling a stronger local economy.
So we are currently at berth B15. We are about 2 kilometers out from the mainland. These areas have been reclaimed from the sea.
Singapore is no stranger to land reclamation, but very rarely has it been done in such deep water.
This is the first time for us to reclaim more than 1,000 hectares of land for the entire port. In some of the deeper phases, it's almost up to 30 meters of water depth.
The deep water and sheer scale of the project meant conventional construction techniques like piling weren't the ideal choice. So, the team opted for huge sunken foundations called caissons. And these caissons will be some of the biggest in the world.
These are the caissons that's infilled with the dredge materials.
While megaports need mega foundations, their sheer size creates new problems. Each caisson must be cast as a single block of concrete to ensure structural stability. If the timing of the casting process is even slightly off, cracks will form and weaken the structure. So, teams work around the clock to ensure that the production of each caisson is timed to perfection.
This will be one of the new frontiers for us in caisson construction in Singapore.
While Singapore's engineers use innovation to meet the enormous demands of the port's construction, this project is still only in its infancy.
So today, I look at ourselves, we are at that stage of development, we're actually planting the seed for the trees, the fruits to be enjoyed by our future generations.
While the Tuas megaport continues to build a welcoming haven for the next generation of marine machines, another group of naval engineers is working to keep Singapore's marine industry ahead of the curve by taking on Mother Nature herself.
I want to create machines to not only be able to withstand and overcome nature, but to work together in harmony with it. The Deep Water Ocean Basin facility is capable of generating waves and currents that replicate the ocean environment. This facility is one of the largest and certainly the deepest in the world.
Once completed, the basin will subject scale models of new marine machines to jaw-dropping scenarios.
We definitely can create waves that are higher than what you see out there in the ocean, more than 26 to 30 meters in real life.
Although these ocean labs aren't new, this facility has an orchestra of innovations that makes it unique.
So here you can see the pedals that we use to generate waves to push out the water against the structure that we would like to test. So these pedals are controlled individually where we can fine-tune the exact waveform. This facility is equipped with some unique components that you may not find anywhere else in the world. This pit goes all the way down to 50 meters, which is the deepest in the world. And it can simulate environments of up to 3,000 meters water depth.
With oil rigs designed and built in Singapore dotted across the globe, This deep-water simulator could prove vital to designing the rigs of tomorrow, but its potential to disrupt the global marine industry stretches even further.
So the Deep Water Ocean Basin Facility can test a whole range of ships and offshore structures ranging from conventional tankers and container ships to smart and autonomous vessels. But we also are looking to test underwater robotics, for example, and everything else that anyone might conceive.
Innovations like the Deepwater Ocean Basin draw the attention of the global spotlight, attracting even more talent and ideas that could shape the future of the marine industry, cementing Singapore's place in the competitive world of maritime commerce. A city's strength is rooted in the vitality of its people. While Singapore already has the world's longest life expectancy, new advances in electronics can enhance the quality of life for its citizens.
Wearables are starting to become very popular. I have one on the wrist. This is linked to my weighing scale. It's kind of linked to my blood pressure monitor as well. So I know, when my blood pressures are high. It's becoming integrated into daily life.
And as the boundary between biology and technology shrinks, so do the innovations.
I'm always curious about how things work. If you dig deeper and deeper, you come to the very beginning. And the very beginning is always at the nanoscale. That's why I love to look at things from the very small. We are working on materials that are 10 to 100,000 times smaller than a human hair. A human hair is huge by comparison.
The E6 Nanofabrication Lab at the National University of Singapore is a collaborative playground that welcomes even the wildest of nanoscale ideas. By unleashing the imagination, they could find innovations that have the potential to change millions of lives.
I always believe that we learn through play. The best inventions come from playing with the technology. It's meant to be a sandbox, inviting people from different disciplines. Each of the team leaders lead their own projects that way.
These scientists are on a mission to harness this innovative nanotechnology, with one such invention being a supercharged version of our skin, allowing those in need to become more than human.
As a kid, I was a huge science fiction fan, and I vividly remember watching Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, fighting with his dad and losing his hand. And yet, a robot was able to magically repair his hand and give him the complete sense of touch. And so I wonder if we can do that. The idea is to restore, especially for amputees who have prosthetics that are not so intelligent, to give them the sense of touch. For humans, we can very intuitively pick up a cherry and know that we are not going to break or squish the cherry and have it explode. But for robots, that's actually really challenging because they don't have the sense of touch like humans do. So the idea is to put advanced skin-like technologies that can actually flex and stretch and put them on these robots to make them much more intelligent when gripping objects. Right, so here's an example of a flexible material that we're basically using to put them onto robots. And also we require advanced fabrication techniques that we have to be able to make these sensors very small, smaller than the width of a human hair. So here we have a skin that we're developing, and when you touch the skin, you can see them respond very sensitively to where you're touching. In fact, actually what we've developed is the world's fastest electronic skin to date.
Professor T's electronic skin is able to respond to touch 1,000 times faster than we can. A first-of-its-kind system where the sensory inputs can be transmitted and processed rapidly by electronics.
So what we're doing here is really to transmit the touch signals eventually to the nervous system of the brain, and this can truly create a Luke Skywalker hand. They'll be able to do things better, shaking a hand, helping you cook, basically take things out of the fridge. That's what's missing from prosthetics today, and we really hope to change that because I think it can impact millions of people.
This flexible electronic skin has the potential to be used from anything as small as a fingertip to an entire body. But the team didn't stop there. They found a way to bring their tech one step closer to the real thing.
So another aspect of skin is that you tend to fall and get cuts, things break. So what we hope to do is to create technologies that can self-repair. So in order to create self-healing technologies, we have to engineer materials at the nanoscale. These positive and negative charges that we engineer on these materials behave very much like nano zippers, right? They're automatically zipping themselves up when there's any cut to the material. So there are many other self-healing technologies out there, but what makes us unique is that we're able to self-repair even underwater, which most self-healing materials cannot do that yet.
This technology will eventually change how patients with prosthetic limbs interact with the world around them, giving them a realistic skin that can feel and heal thanks to nanoscale innovations. This one-of-a-kind research group allows scientists to push the limits of technology right up against the realm of science fiction.
Science fiction paints you a picture of what things could be. The question that comes to mind is then, how do we get there?
This is very, very important for MIT. Bill and I said, well, why don't we build a course in entrepreneurship and see what happens? We launched the course and suddenly something amazing happened. You guys happened.
My name is 21 years old.
It's just an amazing gathering of incredible.
ad.
It was so useful to me that I actually decided to apply to the bootcamp to learn more about it.
May paki-off ang ad.
Identify a problem.
Opo, sir.
They ideate, they create a solution, understand if it works financially, and then they pitch.
If you want to find a practical, systematic, and rigorous framework for innovation, the bootcamp is for you.
You learn a lot about who you are, how you work under stress.
That pressure makes you
And coordinating with Raj po, sir. To skip the ad.
Got me into MIT.
If there's one word that defines the MIT bootcamp, it is intense.
Transformative.
Definitely life-changing.
In the next 60 seconds, ipapakita ko sa iyo kung paano ako nakapag-generate ng mahigit 500,000 prospects.
As humanity spreads across the globe, green spaces are often the first casualties of our success. The loss of these natural habitats jeopardizes 85% of the world's threatened and endangered species. But there are places that have rekindled their bond with nature. Singapore's National Parks Board is responsible for maintaining the city's gold standard in the protection of natural spaces. This nature-loving philosophy is instilled all the way down to individual members of the team.
Part of what gets me up in the morning, I know I'm doing something good for the environment, I believe in what I do, and I have a positive impact on how the city is. People are surprised by how much biodiversity Singapore has. Like, we have about 2,000 native trees and plants. We have over 400 species of birds. You are walking around these places, you might be overwhelmed by the amount of greenery around you. If you're really lucky, you might come across some of these globally endangered species like pangolins.
And it's in the beating heart of this city in a garden where innovations are helping reconnect its wilder habitats. Singapore's Eco-Link Bridge connects two major nature reserves that were previously separated by an expressway, providing a one-of-a-kind, rainforest-covered bridge that encourages even the shyest wildlife to cross safely.
Okay, so where we're standing now is completely off limits to the general public. We want to keep this as undisturbed as possible. This is the purpose-built bridge of a rainforest structure. It's a one-of-a-kind in Southeast Asia and probably the world. In the center, it's about 50 meters wide. And from here, you can actually see the storied planting of trees, mimicking sort of a rainforest, and that's where the animals pass by. We really have to keep on working at making sure we can come up with innovative solutions to find the balance between nature as well as urban systems.
Singapore's green-centric ambitions go further than simply protecting the nation's animal species. the city plants an average of 50,000 trees a year, earning it the title of the most green city in the world. Passionate professionals at NParks work tirelessly to assure the success of this initiative, carrying out regular inspections to maintain the tree's viability in urban areas.
On any given day, an arborist like myself and my colleagues can inspect anything from 20 to 30 trees, depending on their size and also the distances that we have to travel. So with each tree inspection that we undertake, one of the key processes we do is to record the dimensions of the tree. Well, there's 6 million trees in Singapore, of which 2 million are under NParks management. Of course, it is time-consuming to take down that many numbers.
Luckily for Chung Leong, help is at hand.
Thank you. Abhishek always comes up with cool toys. He's actually pushing a lot of new technology for NParks. One of the projects that he's doing is to use LiDAR scans to help us scan our trees in the streets of Singapore.
There is no application exists in the world, and we are first in the world to use the LiDAR scanner to extract the tree semantics. I have to think of a technology which can penetrate through the canopy. I evaluated many of the technologies, then I realized that LiDAR, which emits millions of rays per second, which able to extract the details of the tree. Once we process the data, we will get the height of the tree, we will get the girth of the tree, the lean of the tree, and we will get the leaf area index. We are approximately extracting 60 parameters for each tree so that we can rebuild a 3D model of the tree. We managed to scan a stretch of road within 20 to 30 seconds within the comfort of an air-conditioned car. However, if my colleague Chung Leong has to come, then he has to walk onto the ground to measure each and every tree, and it might take approximately 5 minutes for him to update the information about each tree. However, for me, it's like sitting and then after going back to the office, just pressing a few buttons and the work will be done.
It might sound like a simple task, but Abhishek is the first to teach a computer how to recognize trees in amongst the complex cloud of LiDAR data.
As you can see that I purposely didn't remove any of the traffic signs. We can do an analysis directly on this data to make sure that the trees are pruned so that users or drivers can see the traffic signs properly.
Abhishek's algorithm allows NParks arborists to spend less time measuring trees and more time caring for them, allowing the citizens and their leafy neighbors to coexist in perfect harmony.
So before working at NParks, I was a technology lover. And while working with NParks, I became more of a nature plus technology lover.
Singapore is a city in the garden. We care about a more holistic sense of existence. It's not just about dollars and cents. These are things that help to make the city a living city.
As modern cities swell, so does the number of road users. More traffic usually comes with more accidents. On the streets of Singapore, motorcycles make up less than a quarter of all vehicles, but are involved in about half of all fatal impacts. Hearing this, a team of young entrepreneurs sprung into action.
We have about 150,000 motorcycles in Singapore. Everybody takes safety for granted over here. I was a medic for about a year and a half. It's very common for us to see a lot of accident scenes. This really kind of prompted me to make riding safer for other motorcyclists. What's up? It's still late, Yeah. One of the main causes of accidents is actually the failure to keep a proper lookout because of all the blind spots around. We found out that there were a lot of riders that were setting the GPS and then placing it on a phone mount. And you know, when they ride, they kind of go like this. And when you look down and you ride, accidents just happen in a split second.
The team at Argon Transform are using augmented reality to ensure that the rider's gaze is never diverted from the road.
This is actually the world's first dual camera augmented reality attachment for motorcycle helmets. The front piece and the back piece, when attached to any full face helmets, will turn it into a smart helmet. The rear view camera covering the blind spots will actually be channeled to the front through the augmented reality display. We also have the GPS navigations. So if you need your vital information, like your GPS navigations, just take the little glance, it's done. We're always constantly innovating, thinking about new ways to actually find some new technology to integrate into this.
But Argon Transform is more than just a business. It's a personal endeavor for more motorcycle riders to get home safely.
I think we all have some friends who were involved in accidents. That really drives us to work on what is the problem over here. And from the problem, we try to develop a solution for it. When we started this, we were only 25. Back then, I think we had nothing, no funding. So a lot of it, we have to go out on our own and really gather all these resources. We really work like super late into the night sometimes. In fact, I slept here last night. Is that too much for camera? Testing-wise, mainly it's just us 5 in the office. We are the guinea pigs. And if it doesn't get through us, I won't even sell this. We're supposed to be enhancing the safety, so it has to work. It has to work well.
Argon Transform has the potential to revolutionize motorcycle travel in Singapore and beyond. But with urban populations increasing, space on our roads will only become more crowded. So one group of Singaporean entrepreneurs has come up with a plan that could change the way we move around our cities.
I've been passionate about drones since I was about 15 years old. No, I'm on R8. What's your frequency? 5917. I think I'm a little bit higher. I've been experimenting with different types of either UAV or fixed-wing aircraft, and then it slowly progresses into customized drones.
Flying vehicles for the mass market have always struggled to get off the ground, but the team at Neo Aeronautics have turned their hobby into something more, taking the future of flying cars from the screens of sci-fi movies into the real world with the Crimson S8. A sleek, ultralight UAV weighing less than 115 kilos, lifted by 4 pairs of propellers. The first in the world to attempt a hybrid power system on such a compact passenger drone.
Our business model is to design personal area vehicles that have very small footprints that do not require infrastructures to be installed to operate our aircraft.
Neo Aeronautics hopes to transform our ideas of personal transport. The Crimson S8 will be the first ever vehicle that's small enough to fit into a US-sized car parking space, while also having an intended flight time of up to 60 minutes.
There are multiple challenges faced when we started to design the Crimson S8. Because we have to carry a passenger, there are a lot of safety features and redundancy being put into the designing.
The ultra-light classification of this drone means that operators don't need a pilot license to fly it, just 2 hours of simulator training. And since consumers will have varying levels of skill, safety is paramount.
We designed this craft to be operating on just 4 of the motors. So the other 4 are just for redundancy purposes. In case if any one of it fails, the craft will still be able to achieve balance and we can actually still land it safely. So we face a lot of challenges along the way, but we still manage to overcome them ourselves.
With the Neo Aeronautics team edging closer to their full-scale flight tests in 2020, it may not be long before we are unleashed from the binds of urban ground transport.
By year 2025, I hope that we can actually see a lot of all these personal area vehicles flying across the sky.
But innovators don't just appear out of thin air. They have to be discovered and nurtured. However, with these bright sparks spread throughout 400,000 students across 359 schools, the trick is to find new ways to fan the flames.
One of the key challenges here is really attracting talented students. When I say talented, doesn't mean that they have to be good in academic result, but they are actually innovative, creative. If you look back past 50 years, I would say that design thinking is one of the key success factors. I mooted this idea called Mobile Fab Lab. It's a portable mechanical shop, electrical shop, moving around the whole island to inculcate design innovation, entrepreneurship, and creativity.
These workshops on wheels have been around for a while, but this team of educators has injected it with new essence to draw out the next generation of Singapore's pioneers.
The entire Fab Lab at SUTD is actually based on the strong partnership with MIT. Through this collaboration, we have actually inherited part of MIT DNA in making mobile Fab Lab for the Singapore community. We are quite proud that, as far as I know, this is first of its kind.
Behind you is actually the SUTD Fab Lab. This is the magical place on the campus. And when I say magical, it's because anything that you dream of can be realized here on the campus.
Today, the Mobile Fab Lab is being taken over by the SUTD resident drone professor.
So today, you will design, build, and fly a drone, all within less than 10 hours.
Xiao Hui splits up the teams. In a matter of hours, their custom drones will have to take on the aerial obstacle course in a race against the clock. MIT's celebrated approach to design-led innovation encourages these kids to rethink the way they solve problems. It's a process rarely taught to school children of this age.
Children are very receptive to things, and they actually will think of ideas that you and I would not think of. And we are trying to harness that as much as we can.
Our drone, right, is called the Revolution, and the reason why it's called the Revolution because it literally rises up when it flies. Yeah.
These small circles are the propeller guards, so should this drone crash, the propellers still remain intact.
Finally, the drones are complete.
All right, let's go.
But no matter how good their designs are, a drone is only as good as its pilot.
Great, nice job, guys.
This motor is not doing well.
Despite their innovative design, the blue team have suffered a last-minute technical problem with the Revolution. And after a real-life crash course in quick thinking problem solving, there is liftoff. The strong partnership between SUTD and MIT offers the next generation of innovators the chance to turn their dream into a reality.
I want to pursue my aviation dream into NASA and eventually get into the aviation sector soon. I really like the sessions. It really gave me a lot of experience and new insights into drone and aviation.
My hope is that we are just the starting point. The kind of happiness or joy shown on their face is something that really let us feel that we're on the right track.
It is estimated that there are 33 megacities across the globe, all vying for supremacy. And where these megacities' populations have swollen above the 10 million mark, size generally has the advantage.
This is a very, very important.
But Singapore is proving that size isn't everything. The little red dot has set its sights on the hottest piece of prime real estate: outer space.
Singapore is a latecomer to this space. There's a lot of redevelopments in US and Europe and China. Now in such a short span, 5 to 10 years, we have already more than 10 or near to 20 satellites. Some of the local Singaporeans may not know that we are actually also launching and operating satellites. So the assignment to reach out to everyone is very important, and to understand that actually this small little island will be able to do that.
Wee Seng and his team at NTU have concentrated their innovative efforts on an established type of satellite, one that's very Singaporean, both in terms of size and nature.
There are many inventions or satellite developments going on around the globe. So some will be focused on the bigger satellites, some will be focusing on the nanosatellite area. In SARC, we'll be focusing on the nanosatellites for the new space race. The CubeSat is cube size, 10 cm by 10 cm by 10 cm, about 1 kilogram.
But nanosats don't just prove big things can come in small packages. They also allow the team to keep their mission costs to a minimum. A vital factor, considering the hefty price tag of putting satellites into orbit.
When the massive satellite get bigger, the cost will be much higher. So as a CubeSat, the cost will be much lower, maybe 100,000 range. But for a microsatellite, it could be million or 10 of millions just for the launching costs.
Singapore's arsenal of tiny satellites circles the globe, beaming down data that help with everything from weather forecasting to communications. But once the satellite gets into orbit, another set of problems soon surface. When any satellite goes up into space, it will experience what is known as drag. Gravity and atmospheric resistance gradually brings the satellite closer to Earth, ultimately leading to its demise. But with a propulsion system on board, the satellite can correct this drag, allowing it to stay in orbit for much longer. One of the biggest difficulties that the team faces is fitting a propulsion system that is small and powerful enough to keep the nanosatellite safely in orbit.
In conventional thrusters on board small satellites and cube satellites, they deploy this thing called propellant, and this propellant typically would be very heavy, and they expel the propellant through a nozzle and it generates thrust. Our plasma propulsion system essentially will be the world's smallest and one of the more efficient ones that can be employed on a very, very small platform such as a cube satellite.
In a business where every kilo counts, this technology, ripped straight out of the pages of a superhero comic, has the potential to revolutionize the industry. It works by having a very dense collection of charged ionized particles that, when passed through an electric field, can accelerate out of a channel 10 times faster than conventional rockets, generating significant thrust with the need for only a fraction of the fuel, saving huge amounts of space on board.
We have managed to miniaturize the sizes of our thrusters by up to 3 to 4 times. It gives commercial entities the ease of mind when they want to integrate their systems on board their satellites accordingly. The technology that I deal with is often misconstrued. My friends, when they think of plasma and ion thrusters, they think of Iron Man. And it was only towards the end of my PhD that we realized that we could utilize plasma sources in spacecrafts, giving them opportunities to move around and for them to perform new missions that could have never been done before.
This island of innovation is constantly reinventing itself through the minds of its brilliant engineers and scientists, allowing Singapore to become the masters of land, sea, and now space. And as new and unexpected challenges arise, Singapore's next wave of innovators must step up to lead the city-state into the future.
We will look back and say, wow, this futuristic looking place was just a drawing board. Today, it's a reality.
We have a very supportive environment for research. Innovation really becomes part of the blood of the country.
It's important to make sure we stay on top of all the technology and knowledge that's out there so that we can continue to preserve our natural heritage.
Alright. Panigurado ako habang pinapanood niyo yung presentation na yan, kino-compare niyo ang Pilipinas. At panigurado ako sa isip niyo, wala yan sa Pilipinas. Depende kung nasaan ho kayo sa Pilipinas. Pero pag si Sir Jan po ang tatanungin niyo, yung lahat ho yan nandito sa Pilipinas. May kopya ho. Alam ba ninyo na meron din tayo satellite? Kaya yabang natin, meron tayong sarili niya. Alam mo ba ninyo na meron din tayong forest? Pag tinanong mo si DNR, meron din siya niyan. Pag tinanong mo si DA, meron din siyang agriculture. Pag tinanong mo po si DTI, meron din siya. Alam niyo, pag kayo po nasa level, sabi ko nga sa inyo, ang surgeon nyo hindi sa academy. nasa level po ako na pag ako umatin ng meeting sa project, ang pinag-uusapan, pag ginawa ba yan, magkano ang benefit. Meron po akong 4 na bansa, 4 countries, na I have the opportunity to have access to the way they create product, to the way they develop systems. Korea, yung buong development ng Incheon, Shenzhen, China, Singapore, at ang 4 po, Azerbaijan. Nasa ko nga sa inyo, nagtuturo po ako ng project management. No? At may mga estudyante tayo na. Pero pinaka-primary, kasi kasama ako sa isang grupo ng mga tao na ang aming pong negosyo, kung mayroong mga distributor ng product sa ibang bansa, o kaya ay meron silang dinedevelop ng mga sistema na gusto nilang dali sa Pilipinas, meron pong grupo sa Pilipinas na kinakausap para pag-aralan kung yung produktong bangyan ay potensyal na magawa sa Pilipinas. Diyan yung po totoong makikita yung katotohanan. Hindi yung mga kwento-kwento ng mga nire-research. So every time ako nakaka-attend, kasi isa na sa English speaking, gusto kong sabihin ito sa Pilipino para magkaroon kayo ng positive insight kung ang Pilipinas ba ay pwedeng maging Singapore, tayo ba ay pwedeng maging Shenzhen, tayo ba ay pwedeng maging Azerbaijan o Estonia. Ang sagot ko po sa inyo, pwede. At ikukwento ko sa inyo kung bakit. So, sa mga mitingan, pag nakikita mo yan, sa mga international event, kung kayo uma-attend sa international event, at uma-attend dyan yung may mga PhD rito sa Pilipinas, sa mga expert, maniniwala ba kayo na para bang ang Pilipinas automated na? Para bang ang agriculture ng Pilipinas talagang humahanga po sa mga presentation talaga. Humahanga ang mundo sa atin. Pag narinig nila ang mga expert sa Pilipinas, pag nagsalita na, mga magagaling na engineer natin, pagdating doon, tahanga. Pero alam niyo, pagkatapos ng mga seminar at event, alam nila deep in their heart, research lang yun, study lang. Pero yung reality na kung siya ay naging totoo, pilot pa din. Pilipinas, punong-puno ng pilot. Kasi puno kumukuha ng research grant. Sa kanalasan ko, puro lang ganun. Then matatapos. Sir John, what made them successful? So they always ask me, what made them move forward to that kind of development that we say, ang ganda, wow. Tatlo po. Number 1, meron silang gobyerno ang prinsipyo inegosyo ang public good. Ano, Sir John? Yes. The government make it as their business to deliver the public good. Hindi sila dyan pumunta para magkaroon ng survey na sila ang pinakamagaling. But the moment they occupy that position, they run the business of delivering public good. Yan ang Singapore, yan ang Korea, yan ang Japan. So dyan yung negosyo nila? Oo. Bakit? Dahil kung business ang point of view mo, alam mo, pag ikaw gumawa ng budget, sisingilin mo yung agency. Agency, binigyan kita ng 1 billion. Ilang karsada ang ginawa mo? Hoy, DICT, binigyan kita ng ilang bilyon. Ilang site ang nagawa mo? Yan ang una. Kaya pag silang gumawa ng budget relative sa outcome, hindi bibigyan niyang agency yan na hindi niya ipuproduce yung sinabi niya. Tayo, walang niya. Punong-puno ng saving yung government agency. Bakit? Hindi naman niya nagawa yung sinabi niya. Kaya punong-puno savings. Pinoproteksyan niya yung kanyang MOE, yung kanyang pasweldo. Kaya tingnan mo, nag-COVID na lahat. Ang isip pa rin niya, buksan ang eskwelahan. Bakit? Nandun yung budget niya. Malinaw ba? So, yan ang number one na observe ko sa gobyerno. Singapore lang Singapore, business-like talaga. And then, yung mga agency nila, when they operate, they solve real problem. Yan. Hindi dumating yung official may dala ng agenda. Hindi. Siya talaga, when they sit, they solve the real problem as mandated. Sample lang, DA o DNR. Ang mandate mo, proteksyonan ang nature. Binigyan ka ng pera para siguraduhin na maging maayos ang pag-manage ng forest. Tanong, hindi naman pinagbawal na putulin yan Ang sinabi, putulin at taniman. Kutya, pag tinignan mo mga research ng DOST, kadaming study, mga PhD pa. Pero bakit wala? Pero pumunta ka sa Singapore, walang puno. Pero punong-puno ng puno. Bakit? Kasi yung agency, yun ang kanya trabaho. Hindi siya gumagawa ng strategic plan, kung ano nung planning dyan at budget na does not resolve that particular problem or concern ng public. Ganyan mo sila. Kaya tingnan nyo China, takbo ng takbo, kasi ang gobyerno nila, they resolve yung kanilang opportunity. So may opportunity silang mag-expand. O di kunin mo lahat yung bansang yan, hindi mo lang takot. At may budget. May budget. Yan ang unang-unang elemento na a-design ang gobyerno to do the business of good governance. Yan ang unang. Sa libro ko, yung revision ko ng UN module, nilagyan ko ng isang topic on the good governance element of project management. Yung po na ko nakita Dahil kung ang good governance hindi naka-framework ng mabuti, daldal lang yan. And then magpapasurvey sa Facebook kung magaling ba sila. And then yung mga project na inilalagay nila, yung mga project din madali nilang gawin. And then may ma-organizing body, sasabit nila, panalo sila. Pero itong mga ito, they are not conscious of any award. They are not conscious na meron. Sa kanila, is we are succeeding our mandate relative do sa perang ibinigay sa kanila during sa budget. That is how they operate. At hindi nahihiya ang agency head na magpaturo sa bata. Number two, respetado ang mga educational institution. Ang Pilipinas, ang may UP, may MAPU, ang dami natin lintik na eskwela kagaganda. Pero bakit they are not used directly by the state to resolve problem? Bakit? At tayo ang pinakamaraming may PhD at Masters. Dahil hindi ka makakapasok sa gobyerno na wala ka niyan. Kahit hindi mo area yan, pag nakita PDS at meron ka, okay ka. Sa kanila, hindi yung ganun. Ako, I have been, when China was starting to build yung kanila pong mga location, yung kanilang mga, basta, I had the chance to be brought to these places, Xiamen, Beijing, Shan, during that period. And I was brought to places where development was starting. 1998. Oh, 1998. When I went back to those places, when I became the GM of Red Fox, and we were dealing with distributor and production manufacturer in Xiamen, in Guangdong, in Dongguan, shock ako. Diyos me, ang itsura ng Dongguan nung nandun ako nung 19 plus, ang itsura niyan, para kang pumunta sa Sibugay. Ganon itsura. Yung Sheshe, nung mga panahon na yan, pag pumunta ka dyan, parang Cotabato City. Ngayon, Pogi, pumunta ka, para kang nasa isang science fiction. Ano reason? Gusto niyo malaman? Yung mga university nila, hindi diploma mill. ang mga computer laboratory nila hindi para lang sa PASCO accreditation. Ang laboratory nila, living laboratory to produce product that solves real problem. And then ang mga teacher nila, pinadadala nila sa US, sa Europe, na nandoon talaga yung totoong eskwelahan. And then when returned to the Philippines, yung nakita nyo sa picture kanina ng Singapore, when they return, they have the innovative methodology to bring what is innovative in the teaching process. At sa kanila, ang teaching, hindi ang teacher ang nagdidikta. Ang teacher ang nagpe-place ng problem statement requirement, ang estudyante ang naghahanap ng solusyon. It is really a learner-centered. And the teachers learn from the result of a student na ginaid nila doon sa knowledge. Hindi nila sinisiksik sa utak ng estudyante kung ano alamin mo at pagkatapos i-examinan mo. Hindi ko sila ganun. Hindi ganun ang kanilang sistema of education. So that is why most of the technological innovation comes from their university, galing sa eskwelahan. Sa Pilipinas, magko-contest ng robotics. Hoy, number 1 tayo, number 3. Tanungin mo yung eskwela na sa Bukawi ngayon. Nasaan na yung estudyante nyo? Nasaan na yung mga robotics product nyo? Ginagamit ba? Meron ba nagtitinda ng produkto? In Singapore and in China, the moment you are judged to have those products, immediate, the government will adopt it and the government will use it and they will improve it. They will make it much better. That is the cultural references. Kahit sa inyo, hindi technology. Inimbento yung tao yun. So yan ang pangalawa, yung educational system nila, hindi diploma mill, hindi tagagawa ng certificate para may padalabas ka sa PDS, para pag abroad ka, meron. Yung mga certifying body, hindi tagagawa ng curriculum at test, pagkatapos bigyan ka certificate. Sa kanila hindi ganun. Sa kanila, ang educational institution, the moment binigyan ka ng diploma niyan, ang ibig sabihin niyan, you have the real experience. I remember when I was in this place somewhere in Beijing, sometime in 1998. I have a friend who was the assistant secretary ng education nila. Na ang trabaho niya, siya ang international. So one day, he brought me to a meeting. And then in that meeting, he told me, John, in this meeting, you are going to meet the who is who. People who have real PhD. You know, during the meeting, the real PhD are real humble. They don't speak in English. They speak in their local language. And we were in the round table, all right? You will not even know that they have their PhDs. They are so attentive and listening people. And they are so very attentive and listening people. Hindi nila minamarket ang sarili nila. They don't. And then in one occasion, I had this opportunity because we were looking for business opportunity. And we are looking for people who can help us develop a product. And then Doc Baigan introduced me to a person. He said, John, this lady is the person who created, whose thesis is how to recycle battery. Shock ako sa kanya. Ma'am, it is your thesis? Yeah, it was my thesis. It was a simple thesis. Then I never realized na akala mga PhD pala, you cannot call yourself doctor if your thesis has never been used by industry or your thesis created a product that changed government. Kaya tinitingnan ko, saan na nakakahiya pala ito mga ito. So when they claim they are doctors, they are so polite and humble about it. Because their product will tell you, sa Pilipinas, lahat ng thesis natin sa National Library. Di ba? Pero tanungin mo, yan o, yung DST PISARD, ang daming thesis yan, daming studying pinupondohan yan. Bilangin mo ang study niyan na nakapag-improve ng baha sa Pilipinas. Improve the traffic in the Philippines. Milyon ang ginagastusan yan eh. Pero sa Singapore, sa Korea, pag ikaw ginastusan ka ng gobyerno, your thesis becomes a useful element in the implementation. So number 2 yun, boss. Yung una, sabi ko sa inyo, yung gobyerno, business niya ang public good. Hindi pang payabang sa sarili niya. Number 2, ang educational institution is an active partner in the development. Number 2 yun. Number 3, they do not reinvent the wheel. Nangungopia din. Kung ano na yung nagawa, ano na yan dyan sila nagsisimula. And then from there, improve it to solve the real problem. Hindi naman bago yan eh. Yung mga sensor na yan, yung mga robotic, nandyan na yan. Nandun na yan sa first world country, sa Europe. Pero the moment na pinag-aralan nila, dinala na sa bansa nila, nire-reinvent nila yun. Ini-improve nila to solve real problem. So, sinusolve natin ang traffic. Imagine mo, nare-reinvent nila GPS, nare-reinvent nila ang camera, na dati ang gamit lang para sa ganito. This time, gamitin nila sa monitoring. Yan. They start from what is existing to be viable. Eh, ang Pilipino, magmamagara na magaling. Pero sabihin mo, bilhin mo nga, walang budget, walang pera. Diyos ko. Eh, bakit mo pa sinabi yan? Na hindi, na sa dulo lang pala sasabihin mo, wala. Para walang sabi na wala tayong ginagawa. Naku, marami kong ganyang experience sa conversation. So number 3 po yun. Okay? At ang pinakamalubha, number 4. Alam nyo kung ano? Ang government official nila, hindi nila binabaliwala ang kanilang rules and regulation. Eh tayo, naklasyopaw, 605 lang, ayaw mo pang gawin. RA 132, pahirapan pa eh. RA 108, ano to? RA 10173. O bahala na kayo, bata ha? Sa kanila, hindi po. Very diligent sila in the observance of the rule and regulation. And they can change the rules and regulation relative to their targeted public good. Eh tayo, gagamitin pa ng abogado para lang masabing tama yung mali. Yan po ang 4 na element. Kaya sa digital governance, if you say, ang galing ng Singapore, ay, ang galing ng Korea, hindi totoo yan. Mas magaling ang Pilipino. Bakit? Eh, nandito halos sa magagandang papel ng mga yan. At hindi lang yon. Marami dyan, naglalakad dyan sa Makati. Oo, bakit? Naglalako ng mga produkto nila. Those technologies that are being used in Singapore are the same technologies being brought in the Philippines. Eh, ba't mo alam, Sir Jan? Eh, negosyo ko yun eh. Naging trabaho ko po yun eh. Ngayon ko retired na sa Sir Jan yun. Retired na. Nagpe-pension na po sa SSS. Kaya, I'm very open. Kaya kung magsabi, gano'n. Kasi wala naman akong agenda eh. I don't have agenda. My simple agenda is those who are tasked to really manage digital transformation project, they must understand the end-to-end discipline. And very important, do the right things to do. And the right things to do it right. And the only way to do that, number 1, know your rules. Study your standard. And 3, innovate with technology. Kaya may nagtanong sa akin, Sir Jan, mababago ba ang education? Sagutin mo sarili mo, sir. Tingnan mo yung naglilid. Hanggang ganyan mag-isip yan, at ganyan na mag-utak yan, at yung IT director ng institution yan, ganyan pa yung isip niyan, malabo yan, sir. May iiwan lang kayo doon sa level ng analog to computerization. But you will never move forward to digitalization. Because digitalization has example already. May benchmark. Ang pinakamalapit na bansa, ay alam niyo kung ano? Singapore. Mauuna pa sa atin ang Myanmar. Kung hindi lang nagkagulo yun. Dahil lahat, ako nyo, kung hindi lang magkagulo yun, Myanmar, Diyos ko, kung kayo nakapunta sa Myanmar ng year 2000, balikan nyo ngayon. Nung pumunta ako dyan ng year 2000, mga kapatid, okay? Para ka nagpunta sa Sibuto. Sir John, oo naman. Ang karsada, Diyos ko, marami hindi pa simentado. Pumunta ka sa Nepal, ang mga taxi, Diyos ko, walang aircon, butas-butas. Hanggang ngayon. Pero boss, nag-evolve. Bakit? Nire-respeto yung mga institution of knowledge. Maniniwala ba kayo sa Myanmar? Ang pinakamaraming university ang pangalan, Computer University of Yangon, Computer University of Mandalay. At maniwala ba kayo na ang teacher, halos lahat ng teacher ay babae? Doon ako nagulat sa Myanmar, ang teacher, ang teaching profession, 90% woman. Ang pinakamaraming may doctorate, hindi lalaki, babae. Kaya yung ngayon, tingnan mo, ang kara nila. Hahabulin na ang Pilipinas. Kasi, pero tayong maganda idea. Pero hanggat wala yung sinabi ko sa inyong 4 na ingredient, a government entity that is taking as its business the public good and the public service. Number 2, the educational institution that is obligated and functioning to be solving real problems. Yan yan. At number 3, you learn from what is already existing. Huwag ka nang magmayabang. Matuto ka na dyan. And innovate. At ang pang-4, follow your rules and regulation. Tayo ang bansang napakadami ang gaganda ng rules and regulation. Tayo rin ang bansang napakaganda ng mga plans. At tayo din ang maraming may mga award. But at the end of the day, my friend, we are gauged by our result. As they say, the value of digital transformation project is not how good, best, or better is your technology, but the outcome it created in the life of the people and in the delivery of public service. So my friend, that is where I end these 5 days, and I hope you enjoy the knowledge that were presented. They are really meant to be direct, very directive, to paint, to give you a differentiated picture, a differentiated view of what really is digital transformative technologies of a transformed business and government. Not from the perspective of academia, but from the perspective of real problem and models of practice. Okay? So thank you very much.
Thank you po, Sir John. At this point po, sir, let's proceed po to our question and answer portion.
Alam nyo, merong nagtanong tungkol sa QMS. Alam ba ninyo, nabasa ba ninyo ba, yung isa nagtataka ako dyan eh. Pag nagtanong siya QMS, nagtataka ako eh. Nabasa na po ba ninyo yung detail ng EO 605? Kasi nandoon yung requirement eh. Sa katotohanan lang, doon sa EO na yon, alam mo kung sino sisingilin eh. Nakalagay ho doon eh. Ang diferensya lang doon sa batas na yun, wala kasing makukulong. Alam naman ng Pilipino, pag ang batas, wala naman siya makukulong, hindi pinapansin yan eh. Pero pag binasa ko niyo ng EO 605, ang liwanag po yun eh. Akala ng mga tao na may 9001 na siya, okay na siya eh. Boss, pakibasa yung EO 605. Alright, so, may nagtanong, I'm answering the question ha, di ba? Merong tanong na gano'n. So, let me show you. Ito si EO 605. Nakalagay lang dito, napakasimple. Maiintindihan niyo ang EO 605 kung nabasa niyo Administrative Order number 61. Diyos me naman. May mga kusot ako makita. Ito, tinasite. Minsan sarap batukan eh. Pare, hindi mo maintindihan yung 605, hindi mo nabasa yung number 61, kung saan institutionalize yung quality management system in government. So bago ka nagkaroon ng ISO na 601, meron tinatawag na quality management system. At para ma-validate na ikaw by QMS, may government quality system ka, ginamit yung ISO 901 as a audit measure. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na meron kang 9001, may government quality management system ka na. Hello? Merong organization na sila dapat ang gumawa niyan ng quality management system. At based dyan, gagamitin ang 9001 na pang-audit. Hinahanap ko yan eh. Nasaan yan? Eto boss, nakasulat. Sino yon? Si Department of Budget. Diyos ko. Si DTI na Industry Standard at yung DAP. Ang Civil Service at COA. Kaya tanongin nyo yan. Nasaan ho yung government quality management system? Para ho yun ang magiging basis ng audit at para magkaroon kami ng 9001. Yung 9001, certification instrumento para ma-audit ang system ng gobyerno sang-ayon doon sa GQMS. Isa dyan, ano naman ang basis ng GQMS? ISO 90,000. Yun ang framework ng QMS. Ang 9001, pang-audit. At kung basahin yung order, may 4 na agency na yan dapat ang trabaho nila. Kaya kung walang GQMS ng gobyerno, technically, yung DBM, DTI, yan nakasulat po. DAP at COA at Civil Service, may problema yan. So dyan, totoo yan? O, eto, tingnan natin sa ibaba. Yan, no? Nakalagay dito, Government Quality Management Program. O sige, nakakita na ba kayo ng Implementing Rules and Regulation ng GQMP? Sige nga. Sino dapat ang gumawa niyan? Ito, nakasulat, the component. Sinulat ko ano laman, no? So, nung nagpa-ISO ba kayo, ginamit ba ninyo ito? O kung wala kayo ng consultant ng ISO, ginawa ninyo para lang masabing meron kayong I-901. Hindi ko ganun yan. At ito yung yung institutional structure ng Government Quality Management Committee. Yan, no? And then, ito ang function nila. Saan kukunin ng pera? Ayan, no? Ang ginawa ng DBM, dahil nagkaroon ng performance PPBB, pinipilit nilang gamitin yung requirement na yun na hindi mo mapuprove na may performance ka kung wala kang ISO 901 sang-ayon sa EU 605. Marami namang agency binabaliwala yan eh. Kahit naman nagpe-perform kami, hindi mo. So maraming tao din ginagalang yung tik na PBBB as a motivation for them to have quality management. Kaya lahat yung mga batas ng anti-red tape, hanggat hindi ka magkakaroon ng good quality management system, pogi, malabo yung sinasabi mong efficiency in government services. Because ang pinaka-core niyan, quality management in government service. EO 605. Yan ang ibig ko sabihin na paano tayo magde-develop hindi nga yung sinusunod yung mga rules and standard para tayo ay maging maayos. O ito pa isa, RA 11032, Rule 5. Sige nga, tanungin nyo yung mga taga-DepEd, DTI, DOS, tanungin nyo ang sarili nyo, compliant ba sa Rule 5? Zero contact policy. All government agency, all, walang sinabing excluded, all, including LGU, shall adopt a zero contact policy. Public official employees shall limit interaction. at malinaw ang transparency at sinulat dito kaliwa-liwanag for the effective implementation of the zero contact policy, electronic submission of application, request, payment, I prepared. Napakasimple. DepEd, paano nyo aayusin yung sarili ninyo? Nag-comply ba kayo dito sa requirement na to? Bago kayo nag-computerize na nag-ayos dyan, nag-undergo ba kayo nito? Ito, dito mga kapatid, nakasulat sa RA 11032. Kasi naman ang pinopokus nyo lamang yung Citizen Charter. Hindi nyo alam, binago na yung batas na yan. Ito, streamlining. Diyos ko, yung e-base lang, nakakatawa mga kwento ng mga teacher dyan. Tinitira lang sila ng mga opisyal na, ba't kayo maingay, ba't kayo nagreklamo, sisiraan yung agency. Hindi ho. Makinig kayo sa kanila dahil sila yung may karanasan. Yan Rule 3. Ang streamlining, pag sinabing may streamlining kayo, ginawa ba ninyo to? Kung hindi nyo ito ginawa, i-drawing yan. Yan Yan ang ibig sabihin ng streamlining. Pucha, may alam akong agency, isang katutak ang signature bago lumabas yung voucher. Bago lumabas yung kontrata, ang dami ng ikot. Bago lumabas yung memo na yan, Diyos ko, nilimit na nga Pati yung number of document. Pucha yung attachment, isang katutak Samantalang isang papel ang yung nasa ibabaw na yung talagang approval. Pero sa ilalim, ang dami-dami yung dokumento. Binawasan na yan ng RA 132. Kung automated pa yan, wala na halos yan. Ito yung batas, sir. Kaya kung susundin nyo lang ito, tapos na. Magagawa nyo yung ginagawa ng Singapore. Adoption of full government approach sa re-engineering. Hindi porke ang galing-galing ng department to, okay na agency mo. Ikaw nga, mabango, pero lahat ng agency mo, babaho ng kubeta. Pero yung kubeta ng USEC at ASIC mo, babango. Pero yung public, yung kubeta ng public, mabaho. May ISO 901 pa. Boss, paano mo masabi magde-develop yung gobyerno? Yung pangalan sa Section 3, hindi mo na-adapt. Batas 2, And then regulatory management system. May RMS ba kayo? Ito pa, meron ba kayo regulatory impact assessment? Reklamo kayo ng reklamo. Siya dyan, may mga call kasi sa mga policy and rules. Section 5, ayusin nyo yan. At sinulat dito kung paano nyo aayusin. Paano nyo papalitan. Alright? And then, nakasulat dito, napaka-importanting elemento. Dinevelop ang citizen charter mo, pero siguraduhin mo, maayos yan relative dun sa business process engineering. Paano mo sasabing matino yung citizen charter mo? Hindi mo nga ginawa yung streamlining process. Hindi ka nag-business process review. Yan. Wala akong kasi nagsasabi na dapat yan eh. Ito yung hindi mo kailangan lecturean yan eh. Nakasulat sa batas sa sarili ninyong implementing rules and regulation. Nakasulat dito responsibility ng authority na yan, Nandiyan. So, yan yung sinabi ko sa inyo. Hindi magde-develop, di magkakaroon ng matinong digital transformation ang gobyerno hanggat hindi niya sinusunod ang sarili niyang rules. At para sa akin, 3 ang rules. Pag hindi niya sinunod, wala. EO 605, RA 132, at ang RA 10844. Pag hindi niyo yan respeto, wala. Sayang. So, yan ang sagot ko doon sa tanong na yun. Mahabang sagot. Pero napaka-importante ko.
We still have one question, sir.
Sir, would you be advised when it comes, sundin po ninyo ang e-government master plan ng DICT at mag-submit po kayo ng ISSP. Yan lang. Minsan nakakatawa ang mga agency. So dyan, paano kami mag-digitization? Ma'am, binibiro mo naman na yata ako. May RA 10844. I-define na sa iyo ng DICT ang computer and digitalization at automation. Nandoon ho. Ang RA 11032 nakasulat din ito kung paano kayo mag-automate. paperless kayo, paperless dyan. Eh, ang paperless requirement ng ano, ng RA 11032, di nyo ba nabasa yung batas? Na electronic transaction, minsan nakakatuwa. Sir, dyan malabo kami sa paperless. Gusto mong mag-file ako ng case laban dyan sa boss mo? Nakalagay sa batas, oh, dapat no contact policy. Minimintain nyo yung papel na nagmimintain ng ano, may contact doon sa tao. Nakalagay na nga sa batas, i-minimize mo yung papel. Tapos sasabihin mo, hindi pwede mag-paperless. Hello? Nasa batas. Yun po, man. Hindi yun, okay? Yun ang advice. Sundin ang agency ninyo. Sundin ang agency ninyo yung nakasulat sa mga implementing rules and regulation ng RA 108 tama, 10844 at RA 11032 at ng RA 10173. Diyos ko, paano kayo magdi-data privacy na hindi digital ang personal information? Hello? Yan, ma'am. Eh, sadyan saan ang problema? Walang complete knowledge yung power. Ang problema natin may power, pero yung knowledge. Meron namang may power, walang influence. Daldalan ng daldal, pero hindi naman siya ma-influensya. Meron namang may kapangyarihan, hindi naman niya interest. Alam nyo, yung NSO, LTO, NBI, kaya ganyan yan, hindi kasi kayo nagre-reklamo. Mag-file kayo ng case sa ombudsman sapagkat binabiolate nila ang sarili nilang rules. Ang problema kasi sa Pilipinas, wala kasing takot yung mga tao na yan eh. Dahil yung mga batas, wala naman daw kasi. Paano nyo malalaman na no contact policy, Ma'am Sir Charlie? Paano mo malalaman, sir? Nasa batas. Hoy, LTO, ang simple process, 3 days. LTO, ang technical process, 20 days. Ang complex 7 days. Nasa batas, boss. At merong complaint form ang ARTA Authority. Mag-file kayo ng case sa kanila. Problema kasi naman, yung complainant, hindi naman niya alam kung ano complain niya. Bakit? Hindi niya kasi alam yung rules. Yung isang mga agency, nagre-reklamo mga JO, Sir John, ang haba dito, tagal bago kami masweldo. Umaabot ng 6 months. Ay, nako, gusto mong masolve ang problema mo. Ito ang complaint po ng anti-right theft. Ireklamo mo yung accounting. Ireklamo mo si secretary. Ito yung form mo. Ang pagpapasweldo, technical. So dapat 20 days tapos nila yan. So hindi ka aabuti ng 3 buwan para makumisweldo mo. Kahit CEO ka pa. Eh Sir John, kasi mga budget, may problema yung agency na yan. Sa kanyang relationship, 40 days ang nakasalagay sa batas. Diyos mo naman, nasa batas. At merong complaint form na pwede mong pinapan pag hindi binisita yan ng anti-red tape authority na ano. May alam akong agency, pinuntahan pa mismo ni Belica eh. Si Belica nga, pinuntahan pa mismo Supreme Court. Tagatupad kayo ng batas tapos hindi nyo ito sinusunod. Pinuntahan din niya ang Congress. Hoy Congress, kayo gumawa ng ganitong batas eh. Pagkatapos kayo hindi nyo susundin. Yan ho ang problema. Kaya yung mga sinasabi nyo, mayroong solusyon yan. Ang problema, sinusunod ba? At ang pinakamabigat, paano magtatanda yan? Wala naman nagre-reklamo. At kung magreklamo ka naman, idea. Pag nagreklamo ka, dapat alam mo yung rules. Alam mo yung standard. Alright? So yan o yan. Kaya advice, naku, yung agency ninyo na yan, kung hindi pa ginagawa digitalization, ibig sabihin, walang ISSP yan. Dahil kung may ISSP yan, nagsisimula na dapat at hindi kayo dapat binibigyan ng budget o pera para sa computerization. Bakit? So, sir, reklamo, now tanggal ka. Yan, so, wag nyo na i-compare sarili sa Singapore. Wag nyo i-compare sarili nyo sa Korea, lalo na sa Indonesia. Dahil malabo. Tama, May? Miss May, tama ba? Malabo. Diba? Kaya tuntua ako kay Presidente. Kahit ano iaway mo sa kanya, siya pa rin tama. Sige nga, May, bakit? Meron siyang immunity to suit eh. Hanggang presidente siya, hindi mo siya pwedeng makasuhan sa ginawa niya eh. Agree? Kaya, wala. Hintayin mo matapos siya sa tweet. Kaya tama sabi niya eh. Hintayin niyo na lang matapos ako tsaka gawin yung gusto niyo. Tama ba? Yan. O di, yan ha. O kaya wala nagawa lahat. Yan, sundin mo na lang. Meron nga ako isang kakilala. Sabi ko, kamamatay lang sa COVID. Kamamatay lang, dating director. Nung director yon, palaging ano yon, high blood. Puta ragis dyan, dito sa agency ko, daming ganito. Sabi ko sa kanya, director, matuto ka sa Diyos. Ang ginawa ng Diyos, para mabago mo masama, ipagdasal mo na humingi ng tawad. Tama naman, di ba? Ipagdasal mo siya na siya ay humingi ng tawad. Kaya ipagdasal niyo ang mga makasalanan. That is the only way na magkaroon ng pagbabago. Yan ho ang pinaka-core. Dahil yung demonyo, nandun dyan talaga yan. Ang mali talagang nandun dyan. Kaya ang ipagdadasal mo, huwag mong awayin yan. Ipagdasal mo na siya ay humingi ng tawad. At pag siya naman ay humingi ng tawad, merong marunong magpatawad. Ayan. At tuturuan siya kung paano magiging maayos ang buhay niya. So mga kaibigan ko, mga Katoliko dyan, yan ang pinaka-core ng inyong paniniwala. Alright? So ganun din po yun. Hindi magbabago yan. Hanggat hindi nangyayari yung apat. At hanggat hindi nirirespeto ang mga malalaking university at ang mga experts sa university na yan, that they can solve the real problem of the Republic of the Philippines. Kung hindi, wala. Yan ang advantage ng China. Yan ang advantage ng Korea, ng Japan. Sapagkat ang kanila mismong mga school, hindi drawing ang mga laboratory. Ang laboratory nila ay laboratory para matuto ang bata to solve real problem and to create innovative product that will make better the solution. May solution na, make better. Yan ang kanilang educational system. Sa dyan, alam ba ng mga educator natin? Diyos me, bakit hindi nila alam? Nag-aral halos lahat yan sa Australia. Dami dyan nag-aral sa Australia. Kaya ang educational framework niyan, basically, framework ng Commonwealth. Sino ba yung Singapore? Hindi ba Commonwealth yan? Pag sinabi mong good educational institute, framework, kanino framework? Hindi ba? The national curriculum of the Commonwealth. Ang dami-dami sa DepEd ng purong masters niya at PhD niya galing Australia. Kaya alam nila. And there was a time, karamihan galing sa Amerika. Pero ngayon, halos dyan, nag-aral Australia. Kaya, marunong, magaling ang mga leadership. Magaling ang leadership. Dahil alam nila, nag-aral yan ng tama. Pero hindi dyan ang problema eh. Ang bagsak mo na sa implementation. Alright! Okay na. Galing. Ano na? May.
That would be our last question, sir. And I think that ends our webinar, our 5-day webinar. Thank you so much po, Sir John, for spending your...
May lugaw sa Pagadian?
Sir?
May
Come again?
lugaw ba sa Pagadian?
Yes, sir. Marami, sir.
Essential?
Non-essential ata, sir.
Pinatutuwa ko lang kasi tahimik masyado. Ang ating mga participants, ano lang eh, see and hear. Pero okay, salamat sa inyong lahat ha. Sa inyong pagtitiyaga. Bilib ako sa inyo. 500 participants from
Yes,
day
sir.
1 up to day 5 May. Nakatutok. Tama ba? Ang galing. Alright. Salamat.
Before we let you go, sir, we'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude by awarding this certificate. So, certificate of participation, appreciation, rather, is hereby presented to John J. Macasio.
May, tama.
Yes, sir.
Tama. Certificate of Participation.
No, sir. Certificate of Appreciation, sir. Let me correct that, sir.
Yeah, talagang participation. Ba? Mula sa simula, nag-participate ako. Natutuwa lang kita, masyadong seryoso si Rod eh.
Let me just read the citation, sir.
Go.
Certificate of Appreciation is hereby presented to John J. Macasio for sharing his insights and expertise as a resource person during the Digital Transformative Technologies Workshop on April 12 to 16, 2021 via Zoom video communications given the 16th day of March 2021. Signed with the Regional Director of DICT Mindanao Cluster 1, Maria Teresa M. Camba. Sir, thank you po so much. Thank you for next time, sir.
Oo. Alam mo naman, hindi ko hinihindihan ng DICT pagdating sa ganitong trabaho. Alright?
Alright. To officially close this webinar, please help me welcome the Chief of the Technical Operations Division of DICT Mindanao Cluster 1, Mr. Jacob F. Muhammad. Sir, take it away.
Thank you, May. Hi, Sir John Macasio, idol. Okay, dito na naman tayo ulit, no? But ladies and gentlemen, no? As we end today's online training on the digital transformative technologies, I would like to thank you all for joining and actively participating. Your presence for the entire duration of the training, it really shows a strong commitment to work towards in attaining the Philippine government goal and objectives, of course, through the ICT. Though this is the end of the training, but this is just the beginning for all of us to start using transformative technologies. I'm pretty sure marami kayong natutunan kay Sir John, no? So for us to be able to plan and design and build better and provide our clientele a better services and of course, sabi nga nila, a better customer experience. So with this, I would like also to express my sincerest gratitude to our competent and experienced instructor, si Sir John Macasio. Sir, thank you very much in behalf of the DICT headed by Director Maria Teresa M. Camba. We would like to express our sincerest gratitude and thanks for sharing your knowledge and expertise. Of course, to more than 500 participants. Imagine, ano? Sa Zoom lang yan, ano? Meron pa tayo, Sir Rod, sa Facebook, naka-live tayo, di ba? O, naka-FB live tayo. So, again, Sir John, maraming salamat po talaga. I'm sure marami pong natutunan yung ating mga participants and sabi ko nga kanina, this will be the beginning for them to use the transformative technologies in order for them to be able to provide better services and, of course, better customer experience. And I would like also to express our thanks to our host team, si Flori, si Raj, Wendy, and of course their lead, ang focal for, and of course sa ating pinakamagandang MC, si May. Actually si May nasa Pagadian siya, no? Tapos yung host natin nandito rin sa Zamboanga, headed by of course very active and imfatigable na lead natin si Sir Rodrigo Macansantos. Bigyan po natin siya ng yung team, the whole team, bigyan natin sila ng palakpak. Okay? And of course for the tremendous support and for making this training a success. So I'm so proud of you guys. And again, thank you all and I look forward to continuing beyond this training. So once again, Sir Chan and to the rest of the participants, to our host team, muchas gracias a todos. Thank you, May.
Thank you, Sir Jacob. And at this point, before everyone leaves, let's have a quick photo op with our resource person. I would like to request our ILCDV focal, Mr. Rodrigo Macansantos, to open their camera, and also Sir Jacob. 1, 2, 3, smile. Nag-take off pa ng mask si Sir Jacob. One more time. Smile. Ayan. Thank you po. Also, I think may photo op din for the ILCDB team. Sir Raj, Ma'am Wendy, and Miss Flory. Sila. Hi, sir.
Wendy, no?
Okay na po ba?
Okay na, Miss May, ganyan na po.
Smile. Ayan. Okay na po ata. Thank you po, sir.
Thank you, Sir Jan. Thank you, May.
Thank
Thank you, Chill.
Salamat.
Thank you, DICT.
Now, it's raffle time. Nandyan pa ba ang ating mga attendees? Ayaw po namin nang nanggo-ghost, kaya don't go yet. Ready na po natin saglit ang ating ruleta. So we will be giving away 100 pesos worth of load to 2 winners. Spin the wheel. Congratulations, Mr. Gerald Roma Iscoyos. Nandito ba si Sir Gerald sa Zoom? Ayan, nandito si Sir Gerald. And sir, your PIN po for the load card will be emailed to you by our team. Yung sa ibang hindi pa po naka-receive, i-email lang po nila yan sa inyo. Right, spin the wheel, please. Gerald pa rin. Congratulations to Mr. Gerald P. Bombase. Yes, nandito rin si Sir Gerald Bombase. Congratulations, sir. You won 100 pesos worth of loan. I think it's a wrap for today for our evaluation link. Ipa-flash po namin sa screen. So that would be available until 12 midnight. So you have to accomplish that evaluation link, that evaluation, so that you will be eligible for a certificate. And the processing time for our certificates would be 2 weeks. Hindi po niyo agad-agad yan. And we would be makukuha and we would be employing an automated process in the distribution. That's why make sure po na na-provide nyo ang tamang email address. Otherwise, hindi nyo po marireceive ang inyong certificate. So for our Facebook Live viewers, the evaluation link will be pinned on the comment section. All right, I think that would be all. So learning doesn't end today. We will still be having webinars. Keep posted, like our Facebook page, DICT Mindanao Cluster 1, to be updated and to know more about our upcoming webinars. This is again your host, May. And have a great one. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everyone.